goes live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to LFC Transfer Room. We apologise for being a minute late. It is all Kev's fault. 100% Kev. He was talking about where he got his T-shirt from. Honestly, he couldn't stop mentioning this company on Twitter, and I've completely forgotten. It's not Twitter anymore, it's X. Anyway, so yeah, if you're wondering why Kev TV is late, sponsored by LFC Transfer Room, it's all because of Kev. But tonight we are joined. It's a youth stream tonight, I find. You know, we don't need Carter. We've got the young guns in myself, Kevin Kings. Kings, how are you doing, Sarah? A while since you've been on stream, but good to have you back.
It is. It is good to be back, to be fair, lads. Nice to see you both. And yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks.
Have you remembered to write down the website where Kev got his T-shirts from?
I have, yeah. I've just done it now because he's told me again.
Kev, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm all good, mate. It's good to be on. I apologise to everyone. It was my fault. Sorry we're late.
Now, as anyone knows that we watch this on a Wednesday or anything like that, tune in. We don't mess around. You know, we've got a headline story, which is RABIOT to LFC, and we just go straight ploughing into it. There's no teasing it for the next 3 hours or anything while we talk. And I think it's fair to say between me and Kev, I'm more for it. Kev's more against it. So I'm going to start off with Kev. What is it about free transfer Rabiot that's not getting you excited?
The age, the lack of things he's done at PSG, apart from you could possibly say last season, his wages he'll be on or requesting to have. And I agree with what Jay Moose has just put in. Doesn't seem to be an Edwards style of person to be bringing in. This smells a bit like of Liverpool in the 90s, of bringing in someone who's of that ilk and go, wow, we need him. We don't. We need someone of quality and someone younger and has potential of reaching a better ceiling than what Rabiot can. So for me, with all that, I'd have to decline because I think there'll be better alternatives out there other than Rabiot for me personally.
You see, whereas I'm kind of the, 200 appearances for Juventus, 227 appearances for Paris Saint-Germain, 300 games at central midfielder, 76 games at defensive midfielder, 29, free transfer, maybe 170 grand a week is what he's on now. So you give him a bit of a signing bonus and you probably put him on about 150. It seems a low risk, potentially high reward deal, but Kings, it could be like that whole Thiago thing where we got him for relatively cheap transfer fee. And I was poking around to see what his injury record's for. So there's always a risk, isn't there, with any player, and can he integrate to the Premier League, which is a lot faster than Italian and French football?
Yeah, definitely. I think his age does concern me, and no, he doesn't seem like an Edwards signing. That doesn't mean he couldn't be a success. So yes, I'm firmly in the middle, and I'm going to get splinters, aren't I? Because I can't pick one way or the other. But the thing with, like, when we got Thiago, it was like, oh, he's amazing. We all knew the quality. It's just, unfortunately, injuries just didn't help him out. And you go back over the last 10, 15 years, 20 years maybe, but you sign players and you think, oh, they're going to be great. And they got these headlines in Europe because they're really good players. And then they come in, they don't quite cut it. And whether he can come into the Premier League at this age and just go, right, he's on it, because that's what Liverpool need. They don't need people who are going to take 12 months, 18 months to settle in and go, I'm used to the Premier League now, because he'd be 30, 31 at that point. It's like waste of space. We need people probably then to come in a bit younger, maybe mid-20s, and then say, right, okay, he could do a fantastic job. But of course, the lower you go with the age, the more the price is going to go up. It's not going to be a free transfer. He's going to probably be, quite a few £1 million out of the back pocket for him. So I can see both sides of it. Would I take him? Yeah, probably give him a go. But if I had to pick, but I can't see it happening. I thought, or I'd been reading in some, obviously, rags here and there and everywhere, that he may be going to that lot up the road, up the M62. Now it's like, I don't know if he is. I don't know if he's good enough. I don't really know him as a player, to be honest, but the stats you said then for playing for PSG and for Juventus, etc., and Jamie Hughes has said, no, he did all right. He looked all right in the Euros as well, which I didn't really watch. So would he be that bad? Probably not, but it's just whether he could adapt quick enough.
No, I think the thing I want to just take a minute on is the age thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not sure about his age." He's what? He's 29, born in April. Professional footballers hit their peak between the ages of 28 and 32. So we're talking about a player coming into his peak. That's a full international. That's played in the Champions League for a whole range of things. The only question for me, I don't buy the age thing because we're not paying transfer fee. So I park that conversation. A bit like Milner when we signed Milner, no transfer fee. Don't actually think his age is an issue when you're not paying a transfer fee. I think the question for me, Kev, the genuine question is, can he get into the Premier League pace immediately? Does he have anything in his skill set that demonstrates his ability to jump at that rate of pay that quickly? That's for me the biggest question. More than the age, more than anything like that, it's more that, are you going to need a season to get into the Champions League? Because Milner came in late and free, but everyone knew Milner could play in the Premier League.
The difference is that we needed Milner, and we needed that kind of leadership, and we needed someone of his quality. We don't need a Rabiot, for me personally. And people saying he looked good in the Euros. Salif Diao and Ed Juve looked good in the World Cup, and we brought them off on the basis of that. And look where that ended up with us. I don't see anything in Rabiot. Yeah, he's played better. He plays in a Farmers League in PSG, and all he's won is a league. He hasn't done anything else. He hasn't set the world alight. He hasn't done much at Juve. Juve got rid of him because they didn't want him. His mum does all, is his agent, and by all accounts, he's the only reason he's linked with us is because he wants Champions League football. I don't see the reason why we would go out for a Rabiot when we could spend a little bit more and get someone in of a younger age, someone like an Ederson, someone an alternative to Rabiot, because I'm don't get me wrong, if he signs tomorrow, I'll be behind him, but I do have reservations about signing a player of Rabiot's ilk and from the French league who isn't of a great quality. Yeah, he got into the French team. Yeah, he's played at an international level. How he gets in, I don't know. But for me, he's not for me. Nothing's going to change my mind. You can tell me how good he was and everything, but it's not going to change my mind. I have nightmares about signing players after Euros or World Cups. So, that may have hit me with it, but
I'm with you. I discount the Euros and stuff like that. I don't want any players from that.
No, you don't. But at the same time, though, he, as you say, he may have found that form, that that rich vein of form that may get him into into a high level team again. But for me, has he got the pace to withstand being in our midfield? I question that at the minute because we don't know what our formation is, to be honest, if we're being quite honest, and we're all eager to see and anticipate what our actual formation is going to be in over the next couple of weeks when we see the pre-season. So it would be intriguing to see how that is. So I can't answer whether he'd fit in, because I think we've got an abundance of talent in there, an array of talent, unbalanced in certain areas. But for me, Rabiot, no chance. Sorry.
Well, Kings, let me give you some of that unbalanced talent ideas, like areas where Rabiot excels, where I think potentially we may be lacking something. So when you look at some of his key stats on FBref and stuff like that, his main skills are progressive carries. So driving forward with the ball, that we were relying a lot on Luis Diaz to do. So in terms of just progressing the ball through the thirds, it's very good aerially. His win percentage in the air is like top 10% of midfielders. So he carries the ball and he progresses the ball, and he tends to be that carrier. So a bit like Joe Linton is at Newcastle. I'm not, he may be better or worse than Joe Linton. The stats put him pretty comparable, if I'm completely honest. A bit like Papi Sarr, and again, his stats look pretty comparable. So he doesn't look like a player that's going to get any better because he's 29, but has the potential to do a job should we need it.
I suppose now I've listened to Kev's argument and listened to yours again, I will swing the other way and be like, no, fair enough. I don't think they're going to get much use out of him. For the reason is, up until last season, I don't think we were that bad going forward. So ball carrying and everything to me isn't maybe a big plus. The back end of midfield, where we need a defensive midfielder to really put their foot on the ball and control maybe where midfield goes forward, is what we need more. So I'd be looking at that end of the pitch more than somebody who can carry the ball forward and help create. I'm not sure. Okay, fair enough. I understand what you're saying about his age and everything, so I'll discount that out of it. But I just think there's other areas of this pitch that need addressing before we get a ball carrying, forward thinking midfielder. As we said, yes, he could do a job for us. I'm sure he would probably come in and be like, yeah, he's done this, he's done that for some games, and other games, a bit like we had high expectations maybe of Sloboslai last year, and he kind of come in, did some stuff, and then tailed off for a bit, and then came back a little bit, and he was in and out all the time. And I think, do we want another player that's possibly going to be like that? What's the point? Because we've already got one. And hopefully after the good pre-season this time, he's going to be like, right, I found my feet. The pace is completely different. I'm okay this year. And so possibly in that area, we're covered anyway, really. It's other areas that I'm more concerned about. So it's a no from me then.
On the fence, off the fence, in, out.
I'll come off the fence. It's a definite no.
I think if we were playing like Liverpool were previously, the Klopp way, and we were going back to Trent being right back, Salah right wing, and Rabiot was playing that right central midfield in the Henderson type role because he's good in the air, he can block the play, and he can drive forward with the ball. Could see a lot of logic in it, but I don't think that's good. Based on a very small amount of information we've seen on the pre-season, there looks to be a lot of moving the ball back and forth, trying to get to the byline and cutting it back, which doesn't look like the classic style of sort of play. So I wouldn't be against getting him. I think he could do us a really good rotational job, and I think it's good to always have some experienced heads in there. I think the midfield probably does lack a little bit of experience, with Endo being the only really experienced midfielder. So I would take an experienced midfielder if you offered me Edison and to pay some money. Obviously, I'd take that, so that they can all come together as a squad. But I'm not against it. I'm quite open to the move. I think he could do quite a good job for us.
I'll tell you one thing, James. Right, I'm not going to be a Damon Thursday night FSG rant, but we all know over time they're not going to bring in 7 new players this summer, right?
No.
So I think like some clubs do that, and I know people have their pro and against FSG and everything. I think genuinely they're going to bring in 2, maybe 3 players total between now and the end of the window. So if he's one of them, it's like that leaves only 2 other players that maybe are going to help Slot moving forward. And I think they've probably got their eye on other players that, as we know, we all get linked here, there, and everywhere. Every club gets linked with bloody everybody. But I think they've got their eyes behind the scenes on 1 or 2 players, and they'll make the difference, hopefully. And I don't think he's going to be in their thoughts because we don't have the capacity to say, well, we're bringing in 5 players. He's one of them. Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's one of a few. We're only getting a select amount, I feel. So we need to get it right straight away.
I'm just going to tell you both, you're in agreement with Paul Linder. So
bear that
in mind as we move forward. And in terms of who would he replace, he'd obviously replace Thiago. I think Thiago is going to be replaced in the squad. Yeah. So if we're talking about replacements and stuff like that, I think that's probably where he sits. And the main thing in midfield is to have rotation for us. I think so often we rely too much on the same set of players and they run out of steam. We saw it at the end of last season. We need a better squad rotation and players that are fit and available. Availability for me is one of the key things when it comes to a player in the signing. I don't want another player that's in and out. We need someone that is availability is the best attribute for me. I get crazy things happen. Someone will probably get injured that we don't expect, etc., etc. But it's just one of the big things moving forward. Now, there's a lot of talk that Salah and Virgil van Dijk understand their level of importance now in this new vision for Slot. Last week, Kev, we talked about how critical it is Trent contract gets sorted first. because that is the future, and you don't want to lose the coming into peak talent. Obviously, Salah and Van Dijk are the coming towards the end of their career talent, and I think this is where many Liverpool fans start to have that FSG, Michael Edwards type conversation in their own head, going, how long do you sell? Is it worth selling? And we start playing almost Football Manager, going, well, I don't want to be without any money, despite the fact, we're a multi-billion pound club that was bought for like £750 in a packet of crisps. So where are you with the two of them? Give me them both. Are you like sign them both up for 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, sell one, keep one?
If I'm being truthful about Salah, it smells a little bit to me, a bit like Jordan Henderson. Comes back, new look, new fitness, new everything, and then leaves. And I've got a feeling if any of them are going, it'll be more likely to be Salah. If you're asking me my priority, I would like to keep them as long as possible, but that's me being sentimental. I would say that we would need Virgil more than what we would possibly need Salah. I think there's alternatives out there, and we could actually buy someone in of a young. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to keep both of them, but if you're asking me, my head is saying that Virgil will stay, and I think my head is also saying Salah may go.
No,
That's where I
been
am.
A bit in the reports, hasn't the Kings, in terms of, I think Endo made some comments, which is like, we know Liverpool are looking for a replacement for Salah, and Kubo could do it. Like there was quotes that he said about that. So, and I've made no secret on this stream. I think I've said about 1,000 times I fully expect Salah to go this summer, but there doesn't seem to be any indication at the moment. I mean, he's on the American tour and stuff like that. I think if Saudi were coming in, the noise would be bigger by now. But what about you? Where are you? Getting both locked up in the fridge? Keep them till Christmas.
If I had my way, they'd be handcuffed to the bed, not in the fridge.
And an insight into Kings, everybody.
Well, yeah, I just a little snippet there, isn't it? No, I think if most fans had their way, I think they wouldn't be disappointed if Edwards and Co offered them a minimum of a 2-year deal. So this season and next, maybe even a third as an option, not a definite. Certain criteria. I mean, what would Mo be then? He would be 33, 34. Yeah. I mean, they'd definitely be at the end then and only playing for Sunday League after that, possibly. You know what I mean? But I think
so. Saudi,
I wouldn't be disappointed. Yeah, pretty much. Still with Ronaldo, probably. I think, if they could get a 2-year deal with an option potentially, then maybe after this season you'd see. I mean, Salah's come back. He's so fit at the moment. You can tell by looking at him. It's like, Jesus, he's so ripped and he's so fit in them tests. You think to yourself, how does he look at the thing of, he's one of the elder statesmen in the team, and he's coming back. He's beaten everybody in the fitness test. So you think to yourself, well, he's definitely still got the fight to be a top player. So would I rather him be at Liverpool than someone else? Most definitely, because, I mean, what did they buy him for? 35, 40 million? And everyone was like, well, we don't really need it. Yeah, we don't really need a winger. What did we get him for? And he's come in, and to be fair, he's absolutely smashed it being at Liverpool. And I would keep him, as Kev says, as long as you can get the best out of him. And the same for Virgil, to be honest. I mean, we fought really hard to get him in the first place and waited, and all this had the hassle of we're going to get reported and all this crap at the time. So we bided our time because we wanted that particular player, and we get him, and he's one of the instigators to us going on to Champions League, obviously Premier League, etc. So again, I'd keep him. He's a massive part of the side in the spine of that team. So again, I'd minimum of a 2-year deal, possibly a third, and then go from there. And in the time, you've got time then to blood other players. But I'd tie, same, I wasn't on last week, obviously, but Trent as well, I'd tie him down as long as possible. He's only 25. Tie him down for a 10-year
deal,
not a problem. Yeah, to the bed. Both arms straight out like that.
What?
Oh,
I'm not going to
right.
Wales.
You're not going anywhere. They're not. I'm telling you, all of them.
I've just come back from Wales and I'm wondering how I made it back. Okay, so chat. I mean, if you're new here, please like and subscribe to the channel. Jamie used too much detail. We go live every day at 7:30. It's not always this kinky. But in chat, let me know how many years for Trent, how many years for Van Dijk, how many years for Salah. Let's give us a duration for the three. And if it's a boot, if it's a sell, if it's a cha-ching, if it's a cash in, say it's a cash in. Catching. Kind of works. So just let me know. Salah, Van Dijk, Trent, how many years do you lock each of them in for, or do you get rid? I know there's some people that are ready to get rid of Salah. I think my only worry with Salah at this moment in time, and this isn't anything personal about Salah, it's just I don't think Diaz is the most explosive runner. I don't think Salah's the most explosive runner anymore. And I don't think Nunes can control himself, let alone the ball. So when it comes to rapid counter-attack and the ability to utilize Trent, Gakpo's not quick, Jota's not quick. I think we're missing some electric pace. And so I think if we are going to make a switch somewhere, I think we need to find someone with electric pace with the level of control on the ball that Salah's got. Because Salah's level of control and Mane's level of control when that ball came pinging over and Firmino was unreal. And we need that level of control if you're really going to take advantage of Trent's passing ability. So that's the only thing that I've got. But Salah's completely got the ability to do that. But then I'd probably be talking about the left-hand side. Do we need someone that's can overlap Diaz? Something like that. So what have we got? Lindo, 5 years for Trent. 3 years for the other two. Trent, 4 years. Van Dijk, 3 years. Salah, 2 years. Or sell. Virgil van Dijk, 2 years. Mo, let go. Trent, as long as he wants. I mean, that's fair, isn't it? Trent, at least 5 years. Mo and Virgil, 2 years with an option for a third. I quite like the option of a third. I think
I do.
It gives us the ability to have some resale value.
I'll take that credit then. Thank you. I hope Edwards is listening, and I hope he implements it. No problem.
I'm sure he will.
I mean, by the way, James, I remember being on probably a couple of months ago, and this question came up about because obviously we're talking about Edwards coming back, etc. Now, and I said then I can't see the current setup of these guys coming back letting Mo go for free next year. I just can't. It'd be unbelievable if they just said to Mo, it doesn't matter if it was 150 million last year and it's 100 or 75 this year. Even if they said we can get 40 million for him next year, it's like, can you see FSG saying, yeah, we'll let him go for nothing? I just can't grasp that in my head. I just don't think it'll happen. So somewhere along the line, they're going to offer him something or they're going to offload him, I think.
I think you're probably right. I think he is the one where you would, as obvious as it is, obviously Trent's a local lad. You can continue to have conversations and people and stuff like that. Virg has got a really good and strong relationship with Slot and the Netherlands and how it all comes together. So again, you can probably have continuous conversations. I always feel like Rami Abbas is once the decision's made, the decision's made. And so I think Rami and Salah will know whether they're signing a contract or not already. And I think Liverpool will know already. And I think both will be working on whatever that solution is. But they seem more decisive, shall we say, than the other camps, because Trent's brothers and stuff want him to stay at Liverpool, ideally. But if he's got to go to Real Madrid for whatever reason, then I could see it happening. Matty can't. I can see a situation where it happens. Van Dijk, similar. I think he wants to stay. I think he's emotionally exhausted. Van Dijk, with all the pressure of captaincy and it falling apart, all the pressure of Klopp's last season and it falling apart. I actually think Virgil will have. I think he'll stay, but I think he'll have a drop next season in terms of performance because I think it's going to be a lot on him. I don't think he's going to be a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think he's going to be Virgil level, because I think it really has, all the pressure of Netherlands, which is non-stop against him, the Liverpool missing out on everything, and all the pressure from them. I just you can't maintain that level without burnout or a drop in performance.
I've learned over the years that I think it was from the days when Torres said he was staying, and he was kind of a beginning of January, I'm staying, and then the end of the month he was like, I want to go now, and he went to Chelsea. And at that point, I was absolutely distraught at the time, thinking, what on earth? Because it was Fernando Torres. And since then, I've got to a point, it's like I never idolize a player, if you like. It's just a player. Now, Mo Salah is fantastic, and to the point where you look at him, you go, he's been so good for Liverpool. But if he leaves, it's just like, unfortunately, well, get another player then. And it seems very simplistic to say that. But it's like, well, that's the way football is now. It's a business. It's not an emotional sport to the point of you hook on these players now and you hope they're going to stay for 20 years, because it doesn't happen. The way contracts are and the way other teams come in and manipulate their agents to get them a move so they get some money as well, that it just becomes, what's the point of getting attached to a player too much? So if he's going to leave, that's fine. I'll give him a handshake. Off you go, mate. Get someone else in. If he's going to stay, thanks very much. Pat him on the back. Let's get on with it.
Been hurt too many times, haven't you, Kings? You've been hurt so often. You need to open your heart to Liverpool players again.
Because of the handcuffs on the bed.
I'm just fed up with these players breaking my heart, so I don't get involved no more.
I think Salah's always a sad situation for me, because I think as an African footballer, there is a level of snobbishness that comes from the other continents of the world when it comes to African players. And Salah has been easily the greatest right wing that's ever played in the modern day Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, his numbers and stats are unmatched by anyone, but because he's not French, because he's not Brazilian, because he's not Italian or something like that, people will never hold him in that conversation. People will always go, oh, I'm building the best Premier League 11. I've decided to put Ronaldo on there, despite the fact he had one good season and didn't even hit Salah's best numbers. And it's a real shame, I think, for players like that who really should be held in the absolute highest regard across all of football, but he never will be, because it's Egypt. And it's a bugbear of mine that I think it's an inequality thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, if he goes, I'll hate him. It's fine. I'm like Kings. I've been hurt too often. Now, we were talking on, we as everyone knows, we have a group chat. I'll probably mention it quite a lot. But one of the things we've been talking about is we were looking at this pre-season Preston game, and there's a couple of things that came out of that got really interesting for me, Kev. Which is, one, Costas was playing in a lot more inverted. So Ben Doak was out on the wing, and Costas was almost in like the half centre, or almost the position that Trent was playing, and he was passing the ball well. He's a good, decent passer of the ball as a general rule. And it made me think, if we're playing this 2 DMs, 2 wing backs, sort of playing the half spaces and invert a bit like how Man City do, and the wingers go wide and cut back and stuff like that. Does that really work for Robbo? Or does it work better for Costas? That was my first question in my head.
Yeah. And
what do you think? I know what you think about Costas as well.
Do you know what? Under Klopp, and no, I totally get it, and I quite stand by what I say about Costas under Klopp, because he doesn't suit the system. He can't play that system. He's too naive, defensive mind. His defensive mindedness is the same IQ as me, which is just less than 1 brain cell. So it gives me heart attacks. So for me personally, it doesn't work. However, as I've said before, under a new system, a refresh, a regurg, and you'll find that we might find in a system that he actually looks comfortable in. And if he looks comfortable in that, then I'm happy, because we're gaining an additional player in that in itself. I think Robbo is coming to the time where a lot of people are willing to let him go, believe it or not. And it's sad to see, but can he play in that? I don't know, and I don't. I'd have to wait and see how he plays and see how he turns up when he's given the option to play under slot. I think the confidence with Tsimikas will be high because he's looked well. There's new position for Salah by all accounts that he'll be played in a false nine or a new position for him. It's intriguing for me. There's two things that I'm looking forward to in this preseason. Is seeing the new formation how we play. I think it's going to be similar to Man City. I think you're going to see a lot, but it's going to be a lot more aggression, a lot more pressing, a lot more further forward than what City are, or if that can be possible. And also how the medical staff under slot works and how we get rid of all these niggling injuries that we have. But for me personally, if Tsimikas looks good, I'm happy with that. Eventually, after how many years he's been at the club, we found someone that he may be good at. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I'll wait and see. Pre-season throws up many conundrums that we all go, "Oh, he looks good," and then when it comes down to it, doesn't actually fit the build. So we'll wait and see. And I'm not going to judge him until the season starts and see where we are with him. But
so 20 minutes first game, yeah.
Well, we will see.
Is he going to make it into your fantasy Premier League?
No.
Let's put it. I'll be honest. It's going to be fascinating how we set up. Will be determined if I put anyone in. Apart, the only one who's a given is Trent at the minute. But personally, I'm happy for him. We might find that he'll go to a Greek wedding and actually smash a plate. Who knows? There's hope for everyone, isn't there? But no, joking aside, I'll be happy if he does find that and he is comfortable. It looks as though it's refreshing to see that he's actually got his head down. And he's actually willing to get involved. So I'm quite happy for him to start. Whether he starts on the 17th of August, that's down to him and his mindset as to whether he can prove himself good or whether we go out and get a left back.
I think it'll work well for Costa. I think it'll also work well for Owen Beck, because they sort of stay 3/4 up the pitch and cross in, and that's what Costas is good at. That's what Trent is the best at in the world, in terms of that 3/4 up the pitch and then crossing it in, so there's a lot of benefit, and I think it would work quite well for Owen Beck. So I wouldn't even necessarily say if you lost a left back, you'd need to replace one. I know that's going to throw everyone up in arms. And I'm just going to say this to Helior. Don't you start with this left-footed centre defender thing, because honestly, it doesn't stop in our chat. They need to be left-footed this, they need to be left-footed that. They can't be a right wing and right-footed and all this chaos. And if you're good enough, you play there. We're not getting rid of Virgil van Dijk just because he's got a right foot. Yeah. We're getting rid of him because we can't agree a contract. Hopefully, we keep it. The other thing that I noticed, Kings, when I was watching it, is Ben Doak was playing on the left wing, another left winger, just to add to the mix, because obviously we don't have enough. So that's an interesting position change for him. And he was very sort of, Salah and Doak were hugging the touchline and sort of diagonally sprinting in, exactly how Gakpo and, Netherlands went through about 1,000 players on the right wing. They couldn't seem to get it right at all. But exactly how the two were doing, which was, you run in on the diagonal, you come in late, you come in at pace, you attack the ball. So I think it's going to be potentially a big season for Ben Doak, because obviously he missed a season and he's on the road to recovery, new manager, new opportunity. Do you play him? Do you give him, you see him in pre-season and potentially throw him out on loan, or do you send him out on loan just to get him that sort of year playing regular?
It's a difficult one. We do have quite a few players that can play on the left. So it's like, is he going to play that often? Don't know. Although the club obviously rate him at this point. Whether he fulfills that promise, I don't really know. Just going back slightly, I've said before about Edwards maybe selling Salah, and I can't see it. I've said, I think, on Wednesday night with yourself and Kev, funny enough, that when Slot comes in, he can tweak the side different to Klopp, and that may benefit some players. It may make other players worse. So Van Dijk might start playing on. Yes, he's from the Netherlands and he understands everything he wants of him. But you tweak his game slightly and he goes right off the boil. He could tweak Ben Doak or Simicast or what's the one who can't score? I forgot his name. He doesn't score for
Joe
this.
Gomez.
No, up front. Nunes.
Oh, Nunes.
He could tweak his game and he becomes absolutely sensational, or he just stays as he is. Each new manager comes in with their own different ideas, and I've just seen in the chat there, I think Jamie Hughes has put in quotes from Slobosly saying, we're playing a slightly different formation, and they're getting used to it. So it is going to be different. We all know he's never going to be Jurgen Klopp 2.0. It's never going to happen. No manager is the same. Even if it was Pep moving up from number 2, he's never going to be exactly the same as Klopp. So things have to change and evolve. So let's see how that goes. But tweaking different players can have good or bad results. I've just booked tickets to the friendly game against Sevilla a couple of weeks' time. It's only a friendly to get fitness. We know that, but it'll be interesting to see some of the players and just where he tries them and to see what he's trying to get out of them. So that's why I've booked a ticket. It wasn't even that day. So I thought, you know what? Let's go and have a look and see what kind of ideas he's got for Trent or for Ben Doak or for Nunes, whoever, and just see, is there anybody there who's playing different, out of the ordinary? And maybe he's thinking outside of the box for the coming season. It's going to be an interesting, say, first 10 games where the team find their feet. And I think some fans might be a little bit kind of like, what the hell's going on if we're not in the top 3, 30 points clear, or whatever. It's, if we're down in mid-table after the first 10 games, fans are going to start questioning him. But you've got to give him a chance to implement what he wants.
I think we've said this on stream, Kings, while you've been seemingly handcuffed somewhere, which is, he's going to stumble. Expect Slot to stumble out the blocks. I expect it to be difficult. I expect us to not be great. It's the second half of the season where we should be seeing the improvement, and because muscle memory comes through repetition, repetition comes through time. Time happens because you're doing it and stuff like that. So, if we come out the blocks flying, great, momentum can see you through an entire season. But if we stumble out the blocks, fine. As long as we consistently improve and we're playing better football, and we can see the progress, I think everyone should be okay with that. Unless we don't make any signings, and then chaos.
James, to you both, do you think this is a weird kind of pre-season in the sense that he hasn't got his starting 11 for the whole of the pre-season, and more than likely you're going to have them for just one pre-season game, which will be the Seville game? Do you think it's a bit precarious for him, because he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't? And you only have to look at that pre-season squad that's gone over. A lot of young players, which is great to see. We're playing players out of position, like Ben Doak and others. So we're seeing what alternatives how versatile they are, possibly, as well as can they play there as well, and is that part of the game? So do you think it's more, this is probably the weirdest pre-season you're going to have as a manager because of what's happened, 2 tournaments and your main players, star men, not being around for the whole of the pre-season period?
Yeah, so for me, if you think about when Klopp's contract was due to expire, which is this coming summer, it'd have been the perfect time. Everyone comes back, everyone gets a full pre-season, everyone gets the FSG did the right thing in putting the contract to the duration that it was. It's just unfortunate Klopp wasn't in the mindset to be able to fulfill his contract, which is the first time he's never fulfilled a contract, I think. Because it really has put Slot in a difficult position. Like, how do you integrate Nunes? How do you integrate Trent? How do you integrate these players that have been away, McAllister, that you need to build your entire team around if you want to be successful? He's got Mo, but he needs Virgil, he needs Trent, and he needs Alexis McAllister, and probably needs Nunes, unless suddenly he goes somewhere. But I'm pretty certain Nunes is going to be the number 9 as we move into the season. So your spine you don't get to teach how to play. So you're going to be doing that in live game situations. And if you're doing it in live game situations, don't be surprised when it stumbles. Don't be surprised when people fall. Don't be surprised when people do things wrong. Some of the players are great. Kwanzaa, I think, could have come back later because he was on reserve for England. So he wasn't on holiday. He had to stay on reserve, but he came back first day. I think Jones, some of these players have really got to take responsibility more than I think they've been ready for in the past, while these other players learn the system. And I think we're going to learn more about these new players, these old players that are coming into this new system, and how they can take that step forward from being kids to being leaders within the squad, because the leaders in the squad need them to become leaders for a period of time whilst we transition. So some people will emerge through it. I think Harvey Elliott may emerge through it as an absolute nailed on player. And some may struggle. But I think it all depends, really, doesn't it? Because obviously it's just how it all fits in with how we play football. I don't know what you think, Kings.
Better put my mic on first, and I suppose.
Always helps.
Take the handcuffs off.
I think the whole thing about preseason mixing is to get supposedly new players into your squad and get used to like the Salahs and Van Dijks, how they play, because there's been no new additions as such. And then, as you said, with Slot taking over when the main spine and the main bulk of your top players are not there is really, really difficult. So yes, he is trying obviously these different formations, different players in different places, because that's all he's got to use. He's got nothing else. It could have a detrimental effect. There's my local side had a very disrupted preseason last year, got smashed 5-3 in the first game because they just didn't gel. They weren't together because their preseason had been so disrupted. Now, okay, it didn't matter. They went on and did really well in the leagues. But I'm hoping that Liverpool don't suffer the same thing. The players that have got to come back are top players. They know their jobs. They know what they've got to do overall as a player. But he is implementing different things, as we've said. And I just hope they have enough time together on the training pitch to literally come back, and hit the ground running, for the proverbial pun, I suppose. I mean, Paul's put in there, would you take losing to Ipswich on the first game if you could smash Man United in week 3? It's like, I don't like to see Liverpool lose, but yes, I would take that. I would take them, Ipswich having a day that they go, yeah, we beat Liverpool, but then 2 weeks later, we absolutely batter them dirty Manx. I'd be happy with that overall. But yes, the team really need to gel quite quickly because they're not getting the chance to have a full preseason together.
So Alan's put this comment, and I think it's a fair comment. It's 28 years since we've gone without playing new players in this time in the transfer window. But Kev, I try and think about things a little bit like organizationally, like organizational culture and how things come together and stuff like that. So in your job, all the senior leaders go. Complete new leadership team comes in, all different, people, new coaches, new managers, new dietitians, new fitness experts, like massive change. And you've got a massive workforce. That workforce want to know that there's an opportunity for them to work and grow and stuff like that, and build a career within Liverpool. So if on the first month, week, even 6 weeks, you go, you're not good enough, we're bringing in this person, we're bringing in this person, and we're bringing in this person, it almost creates that situation of, well, have we even been given a chance to prove what we're capable of? Because you've judged me before you've even got to know me, and that can create discontent. It can create a destroying culture. So I think, whilst many won't like it, sometimes delaying a decision so that you've given people enough rope to hang themselves with, or enough rope to nail down a position in the squad, is actually a beneficial thing, because people will feel it's more fair and equitable, and that people have been given a chance, and that you're not doing someone dirty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, and I think you can see that from when he's come in and how he has been. He's he may have been told by Hughes and his chats with Klopp of who's good, who isn't, and by Edwards, this is what we see. But he has to see it for himself. It's all very well hearsay, which is probably in a work environment, it's hearsay, isn't it? He's hearing from people who are part of it that this isn't right. I'd change that. I'd tweak this. He has to see it for himself, and I think. And it goes back to what Kings was saying before. I think we will only make about 2 signings, if that, and we'll probably go heavy in January and the following summer. That's when you'll probably see that, and then that gives people the problem you've got though is it's working because the fan base is fragile. It's like an addiction. We've been cold turkey since last summer. We're waiting for a signing of some sort, and it hasn't come. And people don't like the fact that he's taking his time. He's trying to understand. And it's important that you do that because it's not like a crappy academy. We've got a wealth of talent and potential there that he has to oversee. And, speaking to Alex Inglethorpe, who was integral to that, bringing in part of the first team squad to understand where they are. That's where you have to spend that time and bedtime, and eventually he'll come round and understand that we do need this and we do need that. And we're seeing little things, snippets now of his priorities are 6, a centre mid. Great, that's all what we want to hear. But it takes time, and it shows, as you were saying, it shows that you're getting to understand the intricacies. You're looking at the under-21s, the under-18s who's coming in. You don't want to stop bringing people in and banishing the pathway for them to excel. You want to ensure that when you do bring players in that you want, that they actually provide substance to it and provides a link and a collaboration to what you've already built and have already instilled at the club. And that's important to keep, and it's a balancing act because you've got us as fans who will just go, no, he's crap anyway. We don't want him. Just send them on loan. Let's just do what Chelsea do. Just send them all out on loan, which isn't the right option. It's not Liverpool's way. It's not the ethos of the club. It's the way. It's time for him to take time and adapt to the new environment, and it's a big jump, and he's taking his time. Like I would expect him to do. If he had gone gung-go and started bringing 4 or 5 signings in, I'd be worried because it feels as though he's out of his depth. Where he doesn't feel out of his depth, he's tweaked a few things already. So I'm all for it. I totally agree in what you say, James, because it's. I think it's putting it the way you have done and providing that what is it?
Analysis.
Yeah, an analogy. Then that we need to see it from that. The fans need to understand that he needs that time and space to be able to work, and it is going to take possibly till January before we start buying someone big, maybe, or bringing other players in, and then by next summer he'll have a better idea and a better understanding of where the priorities should be. And he'll tweak it a few things. Well, we can get if we get this player, and it'll help us benefits us as well. So no, works well for me. Totally
just
behind that.
Yeah, just another thing there for you two guys. Let's look at it the other way slightly. We're saying right, he hasn't got the players coming back quick enough, so he's looking at like the fringe players, the youth, etc., until the main players come back. Possibly, just possibly, that could be a slightly good thing, because they're getting all eyes on them without the distraction of the Salahs and the Van Dijks and all this being there. He's taking a really good look at some of them youngsters and going, right, this is what you offered in these games. This is what I see on the training ground. He knows what Mo Salah can offer. I'm sure he's watched him many times as a manager himself and thought, he's phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? He knows what some of these big players can bring anyway. And Salah's going to play on the particular position for him. And he's going to he's sorted. So having a little bit of time to work with so-called players who maybe on the fringes or just broke through or whatever, not even there yet, in a way, potentially could give a bit of a bonus, I think, because, you might just see something in there and go, right, you two, I don't need to buy these 2 players because them 2 are going to come through and they're going to be great. Who knows?
I often think, let's say you're a salesperson and there's a sales manager job coming up, a game in the first team, for example, and you spend your entire life working for this company from you're 9 years old, you're now 20 years old, and it's like, bosh, the opportunity, the application's out, you're like, yeah, let's apply for it. And the manager doesn't even recognize that you exist and just brings in someone else. What does that do to you? What does that make you feel like?
So demoralizing.
Company feels about, and that's basically what Slot's making sure doesn't happen. And I'm a big fan of actions like that. And we've got comments like, well, what does it say about our owners? And in truth, it's Michael Edwards. So what does it say about Michael Edwards? I mean, no one will say a bad word about him because he's a bloody genius. But I actually think the reason Richard Hughes, it's Richard Hughes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just had a moment then. I was thinking, is it Richard Edwards? That doesn't sound right. But the reason Richard Hughes said August, I think, is because it gives everyone that opportunity to meet, speak, say their piece, say I want to leave. Like we've got Sepp Vandenberg is connected here to sort of saying he's connected to Hoffenheim now.
Saw that.
So I think those who want to leave and want to change, I think will probably get out, and then we'll look at who's there and give them the opportunity. And if they don't make it, then we'll. So if anything, everyone loves a good transfer deadline day, don't they?
we do, but I'm old school. I just want to read about it. A bit like the Fabinho one that we always relate to. No one knew it was happening. Next minute, bang, it's done. I think a lot of things may have already been done, and with the time it's taken, it's allowed us possibly with those people that we are going to bring in during August. It gives us time to work and bed in what the clauses and get everything all sorted, so that when we do go, it's done basically, and it's it's done within like hours. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we want. I think as fans, we love a good transfer. We hate the fact when you don't bring anyone in and you're looking at the academy. Why are you doing that? It's not giving me what I want. I need someone leading. I want someone saying, yeah, this is my club. I've supported them since I was 5, and and all that kind of business. So, it's playing with fans' hearts at the minute. But Edwards doesn't care about the noise. He'll do it when it's required. And if it's August, as we've been told, why not cause a fuss in July and throw our prams out, our toys out the cot, and see if the adults will listen to us and appease us? But it looks as though they're not. They're leaving us quiet in the cot, and we've got no toys to play with. So we're already kicking off already.
A lot of talk on Kubo, and we'll finish mainly a lot of talk in the chat. Going not sure. Kings, let me give you some stats. Matches played 30, starts 24, 7 goals, 4 assists, so 11 goals and assists. Finished 6th in La Liga.
How many handcuffs does he wear?
Doesn't say that in the stats, oddly.
Does it not? Oh, I don't want to know then, to be honest, James.
You're on the wrong website. You need to go on.
Once you can get that part, you can't get the bottom. He's not tall enough to be able to do the full starfish on the bed.
I mean, I don't know of this Kubo, whatever his name. I'd never heard of him until I seen it in the chat, funny enough. And it was like, no idea. And then you see a few things, and I'm not saying it's gone from the chat to the press, but I've seen a few things in the press now, and it's just like, okay, there's murmurings of this guy. I don't really know of him, so I can't say if he's good or bad. I mean, according to someone there, he's a poor version of Elliot. Now, I like Elliot, so if he's worse than him, it's like, well, I don't really want him then. But obviously, every fans have a polarizing, plus or minus on a player, their own ideas. It's not enough information really for me to say he's that good. So it's like, well, if Edwards and Hughes have done their analytics as they're supposed to do from all of them, I mean, if he is left-footed, yeah, let's just go and get him then. Why not, James?
I don't know. Let's drop Van Dijk, bring in Kubo.
Let's just play most people on the right and just have Kubo and a left-sided centre-back just on that side, and we'll be fine. We'll be no problem.
The thing about Kubo is, right, is, and I think a lot of people are looking at this now. If you look at that Japan squad, it's often frowned upon that the Japanese players, but if you look at the discipline and how well they are, and you look at what Brighton have done with Mitoma, and you look at, you look at that kind of player that's already playing and is Japanese, you're thinking, wow, why can't we do that? And I know a lot of people were saying when Mitoma was at Brighton. So whether, that's our way of trying to get into the Brighton thing of trying to get these young players from these areas, and trying to do that. And I think Brighton have set up a feeder club from Japan as well. So it makes sense, and it would help. I think it kind of makes sense to us. It'll be like when who was it, Minamino signed for us. I think it's got a bit of that to it as well to us. So, and out of the ones that are linked to us, I think that one makes kind of more sense in essence. So for me, I understand why we're going for them and why we're linked, and I think there's a bit of that going on as well for me.
I'm a big fan of the cultural part of it.
Yeah,
I think that I've never seen a Japanese player that's a massive ego that blows up a dressing room. They've always been quite respectful and get things done, and that's not just. I mean, that is a stereotype, but you see it in sport where they clean the stands and stuff like that after the Olympics, and like the rugby side of things, which is obviously my main sort of background, which is just hardworking, non-stop, relentless. They're nowhere near as big as the majority of rugby players and stuff, but it's just relentless teamwork, and I kind of like that ethic. Whether he's good enough, he's 22. It might be too soon for him, because 11 goals and assists in 24 isn't really Liverpool level yet, and that is the Spanish league. So I think he might need to do a little bit more development before we do it. And I know everyone's going to say, but you can work under Salah for a year. But who wants to come in to sit at number 2? You don't develop by being someone else. Otherwise, I would be world class.
you wouldn't, but I think I do think his numbers, when you look at it, I think we need to think about this with the Salah replacements. Is we can't. It's a bit like Messi at Barcelona. You can't replace those goals that person provides you on average every season. So you buy a player who has the potential, as what we did with Salah, who has a ceiling to get to those numbers. So that's where I think we need to look at. I think we need. Unfortunately, there's no one out there that is hitting the kind of numbers that Salah's hitting regularly and on a regular basis, if any at all. That would make you go, right, well, I'll go out and sign him. Instead, you've got to buy someone who's potentially showing the numbers he had at either Roma or Fiorentina before we signed him, and has the ability and the ceiling to go bigger, which is why you need to go for someone of a younger age who can actually do that. The likes of him, maybe a Nico Williams has possibly got it. Yamal is another one, but he will cost far too much because he's only 16. But that's the kind of that Bakayoko will be another one who could potentially has that ceiling to get those numbers. That's where I see where we need to be with the salary replacements. It can't be a like for like. You're not going to get that. And that's where we need to have a bit of a common sense approach about it and look at the numbers he had prior to we signed him and see if anyone's hitting them regularly, and then bring and see if that is out there and go for those kind of players. That's where I think Michael Edwards will come into his own by getting an alternative to Salah, and I think that's where the analytics will come in for it.
For me, a lot of you mentioned Gordon. Big fan of Gordon. I think he's got a high ceiling as well. I think whoever it is going to be explosive pace. I think that's my barometer on whether I think it may or may not happen. If they're not explosive, I don't think it's necessarily a player Liverpool are going to be interested in at this moment in time. And by explosive, I just mean rapid. Kubo is famed. I don't know much about. Can't remember the one everyone keeps mentioning. Obviously, Anthony Gordon, I'm aware of. Mbuemo, I'm not Kashvili, I'm not sure he's rapid. Mbeumo's quick, but I'm not sure he is lightning. So I think it's going to be really interesting, because I think that is what we're lacking in attack. And that may see a player like Jota leave. It may see a player like Salah leave. I don't think Gakpo will leave. But I do think it may see one of our front five, not Nunes, because I don't see anyone paying it at this moment in time until he explodes, leave. So that's why we're all talking about left wings. But maybe it's Ben Doak.
Yeah.
Could be.
He might set the world on fire, and I'm looking forward to seeing on Friday when I get up, because there's no chance I'm watching it. Or would I be getting up on Saturday?
It'll be Saturday.
Either getting up on Friday and watching it, or getting up on Saturday and watching it, because it's at like midnight.
Past your bedtime, James.
I'll be in bed by then.
Handcuffed to King's bed.
Just making me
let's leave on that note.
I was just going to say, before we leave, I want to make clear to Jamie, you two, and the millions of people watching, I'm not handcuffing any players to the bed, but I will lock them three that we said, Trent, Van Dijk, and Mo Salah. I will lock them in the changing rooms and make sure they can't leave, but I'm not going to handcuff literally everybody.
James
think
that's the way we should finish.
Helior in the chat, and he will find the clip where you said handcuff and bed, because I said put them in the fridge until Christmas.
Put them in the fridge.
Thank you very much to Kev and Kings. This has been LFC Transfer Room. This has been Rabiot to Liverpool. We are 2 no's and a yes. Kind of yes. More a yes than a no, because he's free. Salah and Van Dijk, 2 years with an extension with a possible extension for a third. And let's say we can't agree on what type of attacking player that we think that we need, and neither can anyone in the chat. But at least Slot's giving everyone a chance to show their worth before he starts to bring in the new signings. And whilst I don't think we will sign many, as I agree with Kev, I think what we need to treat January as is a proper transfer window. That is Slot's first transfer window, because the majority of our players don't come back until the last game of pre-season, which is crazy. This is LFC Transfer Room. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.